So before I wish a Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night, I will take some questions.
When you look back at this year, very little of the domestic agenda that you outlined in your inaugural address and your State of the Union has been achieved. Healthcare rollout obviously had huge problems, and your ratings from the public are near historic lows for you. When you take this all together, has this been the worst year of your presidency?
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
I've lost confidence in you, trust in you, your credibility has taken a hit. Obviously, the healthcare law was a big part of that. So do you understand that the public has changed in some way their view of you over this year?
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
A federal judge said that, for example, the government had failed to cite a single instance in which analysis of the NSA's bulk metadata actually sought an imminent attack.
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
Quote, my team evaluated them, we scrubbed them thoroughly, we actually expanded some of the oversight, and you did expand some of it.
Yes.
You also said we may have to rebalance some, there may be changes. But you concluded with, quote, you can complain about Big Brother and how this is a potential program run amok. But when you actually look at the details, then I think we've struck the right balance. That was only 6 months ago. Now this judge is saying no, your own panel is saying no, even you're saying.
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
If you were fully read on these programs, is it another example of what Julie was getting at with this question of credibility with the American people? That just like on healthcare, you like your plan, you can keep it. On surveillance, you looked the American people in the eye 6 months ago and said, we've got the right balance. And 6 months later, you're saying, maybe not.
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
It's been a tough year. You may not want to call it the worst year of your presidency, but it's clearly been a tough year. The polls have gone up and down, but they are at a low point right now. So,
since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
Rick Leggett, who is the head of the NSA task force on Edward Snowden, told 60 Minutes that it was, quote, worth having a conversation about granting Edward Snowden amnesty. To what degree, sir, were you pleased that he floated this trial balloon, and under what circumstances would you consider either a plea agreement or amnesty for Edward Snowden? And what do you say to Americans, sir, who, after possibly being alerted to Judge Leon's decision earlier this week, reading the panel recommendations, believe Edward Snowden set in motion something that is proper and just in this country about the scope of surveillance and should not be considered by this government a criminal?
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
You've talked about the issues with healthcare and the website rollout, but there have been other issues, the misinformation about people keeping their policies, the extended deadlines, some postponements. We have a new waiver that HHS announced last night. How do you expect Americans to have confidence and certainty in this law if you keep changing it? This one here, this new waiver last night, you could argue you might as well have just delayed the mandate.
Well, since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up.
Since we've been looking back at the year, I'd like to ask you what your reaction was to the nonpartisan truth-telling group PolitiFact when it said that the lie of the year was your statement that if you like your health care plan, you can keep it.
Since I'm in charge, obviously we screwed it up. Obviously we screwed it up.